Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to understanding really complex topics using insights from sources you actually care about.
Yep. And today we are diving deep into, well, the tech world, specifically artificial intelligence. It's moving so fast.
It really is. Our mission today is to kind of synthesize some pretty fascinating perspectives.
Yeah, we've got a discussion with Marc Andreessen. He's talking about generalists versus specialists, in the age of AI. And we also looked at a really detailed conversation from the Andreessen-Horowitz TBPN podcast featuring a bunch of their partners.
Exactly. So we've sifted through, expert commentary, VC perspectives, debates about open source versus closed source AI, the application layer, broader tech trends. It's a lot.
It is.
And for you listening, our learner persona, we've designed this deep dive to give you a clear, structured take. Hopefully some surprising facts, but definitely aiming to leave you feeling informed, not, overwhelmed.
Okay, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So first up, this idea from Marc Andreessen about the generalist. It's quite compelling, actually.
It is, isn't it? His core argument is that as AI takes over more of the super deep specialized tasks,
Right.
people with a broader skill set are actually going to thrive. Not just survive, but really thrive.
Yeah. He uses the CEO archetype, right?
Yeah.
Someone who's got a decent handle on product, sales, marketing, legal, finance, even IR and press.
Exactly. It's that ability to connect the dots across different domains. That's what he really stresses.
And looking ahead, he suggests future entrepreneurs might need, 6 to 8 key skills? Something like that?
Yeah, wire toolkit so they can cross-pollinate ideas, combine domains effectively.
And here's the interesting twist, I think. He doesn't frame AI as the enemy here.
No, not at all. It's the opposite. It's an enabler for these generalists.
Right, like having an expert consultant on tap for any specialized question.
Precisely. AI handles the deep dive, you handle the synthesis, the strategy, the connections.
Which kind of brings us to the question of, okay, what's uniquely human then?
Mm.
And Andreessen, like many others, points to things like creativity, critical thinking, that ability to connect disparate ideas. Stuff AI isn't quite there with yet.
That synthesis piece becomes absolutely critical.
Definitely. Okay, so that's the generalist angle. Now, let's shift gears a bit.
Let's talk about the models themselves, this whole open source versus closed source debate.
Yeah, this is a major tension point. You see really smart people arguing both sides.
There was that piece by John Ludig, maybe about a year old now.
That's the one. He made a strong case for closed source winning out.
Why was that again?
Basically, the centralizing forces, the sheer amount of data needed, the massive compute power. He argued it naturally leads to fewer, bigger players controlling the best models.
Okay, but then you've got Marc Andreessen himself and A16Z more broadly putting money into open source AI. They seem pretty bullish on it.
Very bullish. And there's even this kind of geopolitical angle floating around. Could open source AI become a tool of economic competition?
Interesting. And the structure of these companies matters too, right? Like OpenAI.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Ben Thompson's analysis of OpenAI's structure, that nonprofit board overseeing a for-profit entity, raises huge questions.
About control, fiduciary duty. Who are they ultimately serving?
Exactly. And then you throw Microsoft into the mix, their massive investment.
Yeah, is it just revenue share, or do they have deeper rights to the models for Azure? That's a big deal.
It really is.
Yeah.
And compare that to Meta. They open sourced Llama, which got a lot of attention.
Right.
But there are questions about the long game there. Can they sustain the cost of building the next generation, the frontier models, without that direct customer feedback loop you get with a closed model?
That's a really good point. The argument for closed source often emphasizes that continuous improvement loop driven by paying customers.
And what about enterprises? Security is always top of mind.
Traditionally, you'd think open source on-premise is more secure.
Maybe. But then again, lots of big conservative companies are already trusting huge amounts of data to cloud providers like Microsoft Azure or AWS. So maybe that perception is shifting.
Interesting point. And then there's a national security angle, Aaron Jin's perspective.
Right. The idea that a strong U.S.-based open source ecosystem could be a counterweight to, say, proprietary models coming out of other countries at another layer completely.
So lots to unpack just on the model architecture itself.
Definitely. Okay, so moving up the stack, let's talk applications. What's happening there?
Well, one interesting trend is this idea of applications becoming model agnostic.
Yeah, like Windsurf or Harvey. They're built to work with different underlying LLMs.
So for you as a user, the specific model, whether it's GPT-4, Claude, Llama, whatever, might matter less than the actual app experience,
Yeah.
the front door to the AI, some call it.
It also leads to this kind of funny idea. Could OpenAI accidentally become a massive consumer tech company? Well, if they have this huge user base interacting directly with their models, maybe through ChatGPT, could they eventually monetize that with ads, like Google or Meta, an unwilling consumer tech company?
Huh. That's an interesting thought. We also heard from Chris at Granola, the AI note-taking app.
Right. And his point was interesting. It's evolving beyond just transcription. It's becoming more of a tool for thought.
Deeper assistance, more context-aware.
And Granola is actually starting to let users choose the model they want to use.
Oh, interesting.
Which points to this broader idea Anish from A16Z mentioned, a routing layer.
Like a smart switchboard for AI models?
Exactly. The application intelligently picks the best model for a specific task based on capability, cost, speed, whatever.
That makes sense. And that leads us towards AI agents, doesn't it?
Yeah, these autonomous bits of software doing tasks for you. We're seeing early versions with things like Granola or Do Not Pay. Lots of potential there.
Okay, let's pivot to the money side. Venture capital.
Sure. Josh Browder from Do Not Pay had a really interesting take.
Right.
Very founder first.
Right. Focus on solving a real problem, not just slapping AI onto something for hype.
Yeah, he talked about this rise of super credentialism in VC.
The obsession with fancy degrees and resumes.
But he also noted that plenty of successful founders don't fit that mold at all. Innovation can come from anywhere.
And Do Not Pay itself is a great example, right? Using AI to negotiate bills. He called it AI versus AI warfare.
Huh. Yeah, that's a glimpse of the future, maybe.
We also heard about Eric Torenberg joining A16Z.
Right. It speaks to their scale, but also trying to maintain that entrepreneurial vibe internally.
And they're grappling with public perception, too, like with their crypto fund. How to handle narratives, misinformation.
That's becoming a bigger part of the game for VCs, it seems. And internally, there's this debate at A16Z. What actually makes an AI company defensible?
Is it the tech?
Yeah.
The data? The brand? Or just moving incredibly fast?
Yeah, there's no consensus yet, which tells you how dynamic things are.
Martin Casado offered that useful analogy to the software space.
Right, the open source software evolution. Closed solutions grab value early, then open source drives broader adoption. He thinks something similar might happen in AI.
He also argued against the winner-take-all idea for AI. He sees the market as huge and expanding fast.
Room for lots of winners across the stack, not just one dominant model provider.
And he pointed out that a lot of the enterprise AI revenue now is actually coming from, individual power users, prosumers, not massive top-down corporate deals yet.
Interesting observation on the revenue quality. Then David George talked about growth investing.
Yeah, AI-native companies are growing way faster than previous tech waves.
So underwriting these model busters, these potentially transformative companies, it's a different kind of challenge for investors.
The potential for disruption is just massive across so many sectors.
Absolutely. And Ann's focus on infrastructure is key too.
Right, the shift from just pre-training these huge models
to the importance of post-training, fine-tuning, making them work for specific tasks. That's where a lot of value is getting created now.
She also brought up sovereign AI.
Yeah, countries wanting their own AI capabilities, their own infrastructure. That's a big driver for investment globally.
And she used the Red Hat Linux analogy for open source AI like Mistral or Black Forest Labs.
Right. Enterprises wanting cheaper, faster, more controllable AI solutions sounds a lot like the Linux story in the server market.
Then there was the Sesame AI store, realistic AI companions, pushing the boundaries of human-computer interaction.
Wild stuff. It shows the range of applications being explored.
And all these startups face that balancing act, right? Building amazing tech versus actually getting attention and users.
Crucial balance.
Yeah.
And having really good product taste, good evaluation metrics, it's becoming super important. You need to know if your AI product is actually good.
We also touched briefly on the hyperscalers, Google, Microsoft, AWS.
Yeah, their strategy seems to be a mix. Build their own, buy startups, and extend their existing products with AI.
And Anish had that final kind of surprising observation.
Oh yeah, that some people in the tech industry aren't actually using these AI tools that much themselves.
Kind of a reminder to, actually get your hands dirty and understand the potential firsthand.
Definitely. So, okay, let's try and wrap this up. Quick recap.
Sure. So, key takeaways. Generalists might actually be empowered by AI, not replaced.
Right. The open source versus closed source battle is ongoing. Maybe they'll coexist. Lots of different factors at play there.
The application layer is where a ton of exciting stuff is happening, making AI useful, model-agnostic approaches, agents.
And the venture capital world is working hard to figure out how to fund this revolution, debating defensibility, looking for those transformative companies.
Yeah, I mean, the big picture is AI as this incredibly powerful tool. It's creating new possibilities.
But also demanding new skills, new ways of thinking.
Absolutely.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. As AI keeps getting better and better, think about this. What knowledge or skills that used to be really specialized might become, well, kind of commoditized, easily accessible via AI?
Good question.
And on the flip side, what uniquely human skills, creativity, critical judgment, emotional intelligence, maybe that synthesis we talked about, what becomes even more valuable because AI can't easily replicate it.
Yeah. What does that mean for your own learning, your career path? Something definitely worth pondering.